Alright guys, welcome to the video. Jason from freefromvacationfees.com. Let's talk about something interesting about your timeshare, at least along the lines of getting out of that timeshare. Bottom line, as you know, timeshares are hard as hell to sell. And all sorts of reasons for this. Predominantly, nobody wants, or I shouldn't say nobody, some people are more than happy to pay a maintenance fee. But the problem is, nobody likes to pay a yearly maintenance fee for basically open air. Okay? And that is what a timeshare is. A timeshare is not an asset. It is basically an intangible, meaning that you cannot see it, piece of time, basically, hence the name timeshare. And that's what people don't want. It's not tangible. Not tangible. Not something you can reach out and touch. It is not a home. Okay? And tangible. It's not a home. So the bottom line is, while it's not a home, it does help to understand the home selling process if you want to get out of a timeshare. In that sense, is very, very similar. Okay, so with your timeshare, you have a title. Basically, that's just your ownership. All right, and the way that you would basically move that title, and again, I'm using this like I do with all these videos on my iPad, so bear with any typos or time lag here. I'm going to try to make this as simple as possible. Okay, so basically, a title is your ownership of that timeshare. That in and of itself is a scam. Like I said, typically you think of a title with home ownership. All right, you have something tangible. You don't actually have anything tangible with a timeshare, which is very confusing, but also very clever on the part of a timeshare company. All right, in my terms, in my opinion, that should be something that is outlawed to call it a title of ownership, because that refers to a tangible asset. But nonetheless, that's a topic for another video. Okay, so a title is your ownership. Now, if you want to get out of your timeshare, what you will do is, when it's same with selling a home. If you want to sell your home, okay, what you must do is you need to transfer your title ownership, and the tool you use to do this is a deed. Okay, so a deed will basically move your timeshare, or excuse me, your home. It will move your home to another person or a couple or an entity or whatever. Okay, and you're doing the same with a timeshare. Okay, you basically take your title of ownership and through a deed, okay, you basically move that to another person or party or entity, or some people even buy them in partnerships or whatever. Okay, so you move them to another person. Okay, and you know, if you've ever sold a home, and many of you have, I speak to a lot of people on the phone, and when I pull out the example equating how we transfer a timeshare out of your name to another person, and I use the home selling analogy, it becomes very clear. So basically, you know, if you've used one or two things, you have sold your home on your own, or in many cases, you have used a real estate agent. Okay, and what that agent does is they set an appointment with a title company. okay, on the closing of your home. They set it with the title company, and the title company is, you can think of them basically as the experts in using a deed. Okay, they handle the paperwork that makes the deed legal, basically. That makes the transfer of that title to the third party. They basically make it all legal. They put it all in line, and they make that above board, and they handle all the paperwork. Okay, so if you look at the grand scheme of things, if you are selling a home, okay, it could look something like this. You will have an agent. You will hire an agent who works off a commission. Okay, and what they will do is they will sell your home, list it, typically via the MLS or whatever, and they will sell it. Okay, finding a third party to buy it. Okay, and when they do, they will have set up the arrangement with the title company. And that title company will bring you and the buyer, okay, again, whether that's a person or an entity or a couple or whoever, they'll bring you and the buyer together, and they will basically transfer your title to the other person via deed, okay? Now, that effectively removes your name from the ownership. Now, even if that was all you had to do in getting out of your timeshare, again, if I own a house is really easy to give away in 99.99% of the chances, unless it sits on whatever, a volcano or whatnot. But then again, it's still very easy to give away. Why? Because it's tangible. It's tangible. I give it away. People equate it to an asset. Something, in other words, that has real value. Okay? A home is equated to an asset. Okay? A timeshare is not equated to an asset. A timeshare is equated to what? None other than an expense. This is what people view timeshares as, an expense. That is why they're very hard to give away because they are an expense. And maybe you have tried to sell it. Maybe you have gone to eBay to list it. People can't even give them away. They put them on eBay for $1 or for free, and they can't give them away, again, because they're an expense. And the reason they're an expense is because you have a maintenance fee, and also you have a timeshare company, okay? And that timeshare company is basically a landlord. Now, if you buy a home, a home does not have, it does not equal a landlord. Again, we're going back into home ownership, but a timeshare does have a landlord. Timeshares have landlords. And those are the timeshare companies. So if you think about this, not only is your timeshare not a tangible asset that you can touch, it is also viewed as an expense, and they also have a landlord. So when you sat through that timeshare meeting and those sellers, clever as they are, told you that you were buying something real, you would never go out and buy a home that had a landlord. Okay, even if you buy a condo, it doesn't have a landlord. It has an association and you vote. You have no authority, voting authority in timeshare, having a timeshare. You have a landlord, but it's basically sold as a piece of real property. It is not. However, the way you get out of them is you must transfer, as we set up here, you must transfer that via a deed to a third party. And the reason that's so hard is because it's viewed as an expense and you have a landlord, okay? That's why it's so hard. So, long story short, that is very hard. So the key to getting out of a timeshare, all right, is one of two things. Either you can use an attorney, okay, or an advocacy group, to basically go about canceling a contract, your contract specifically, okay? And they do that via exposing lies that you were told when you bought that timeshare. Namely that you could use it whenever you want, or that fees would never go up, or any number of lies, okay? Or that'd be easy to get out of, or blah, 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 okay? Now, the other way you can do it, okay, is via what's called a transfer. And this is a situation very similar to selling a home. Basically what you would do is you would get a transfer company to find a third party, okay? And then what they would do in-house would be transferring your title of ownership to that third party. Now, one thing, again, about a transfer, you have to have a good company. But if you find a good company, the logical question is, well, how can they sell it? Or I should have said, basically, I thought they don't sell, so how is it possible? And if you have a good transfer company, what they will have is they will have access to a lot of third parties. Okay? So basically it could be things like it could be individuals. It could be corporations. Again, a lot of corporations will buy timeshares for corporate retreats, and many of these corporations have a lot of money, so they're not concerned about maintenance fees. They could sell to other types of third parties, entities, other types of entities. They could sell to basically any type of third party who would buy a timeshare, okay? Either in the country or out of the country, okay? And the way they do this is a good transfer company will have contacts, okay? It's like hiring the best agent to sell your home. They'll have a lot of contacts, and generally speaking, they can move homes faster. So that would be the difference. The main difference between going with a transfer company versus trying to sell it on your own is that typically all you're going to do when you sell it on your own is just deal with the general public. In other words, you're going to list it on eBay, you're going to try to give it away, you're going to have to compete with a lot of people. Okay, so neither of these solutions, an attorney, an advocacy group, okay, it's not a perfect solution. Again, there's good and bad. Well, a transfer company is not a perfect solution either. There's good and bad with them. But those are generally the two ways you would go about getting rid of your timeshare that people view as, specifically, as an expense. Okay? So, the bottom line is when people try to get out of their timeshare, the natural progression is they will call the company, okay, and basically beg them to take it back. That usually doesn't work. Or they will tell them they just can't afford it. Or next, they will try to sell the timeshare. Then usually what it becomes is into the last two options that I have, which generally speaking are going to be by far the most effective options. They'll either hire an attorney or an advocacy group This is especially if you owe money. If you owe money, you can't sell it because you still have that mortgage. Okay, it's going to make it much, much harder to sell. So generally, an attorney or an advocacy group are used by people who owe money. But they can be for either. Or you can do a transfer. If you haven't paid off, that's generally the simplest way to go about it. Again, not a perfect solution, but it's generally the simplest way to go about it. It will be contingent on whether that transfer company can find you a third party, which again, typically experienced transfer companies are able to do that, and generally an average of 8 to 12 months generally is what you're going to see. Okay, so hopefully this video shed some light on this for you. Again, the reason your timeshare is so hard to get rid of is because it's viewed as an expense. And the way you have to go about getting rid of it, okay, at least if you're going to go the route of a transfer, is transferring that title, okay, unless you're going to go about using an attorney. So again, as I've explained in last videos, freefromvacationfees.com, freefromvacationfees.com. That's the website. You can go there, watch my other videos. And whether you owe money or you don't, we can assist you in getting out of your timeshare. Predominantly what we do is transfer. Okay? We work with a group of associate transfer companies, and so we have access to a lot of third parties who may potentially want your timeshare. And the other thing that makes us different from selling is that it's also guaranteed. In other words, if you don't get out, you get your money back. So if you found this video at all useful, please like it. Also subscribe to the channel. I will be releasing other videos. And then you can visit our website, freefromvacationfees.com.